fellow comrades, so the Kavernacle is wrong about Hank Green and his use of AI. In fact, a lot of people are wrong about Hank Green and his use of AI. But I'm picking on the Kavernacle because he's kind of the first one that I saw and one who's kind of wrong objectively about the facts, I feel. So people, including the Kavernacle, are pointing to this clip of Hank Green where he says, "I appreciate the pushback," in kind of a weird way.
It's probably very easy to miss this for many people, but here's where he reads an AI prompt out loud.
Does this mean that words aren't made up? No, words are definitely made up, but it does mean that there are things that matter to a community of brains creating language together. That does not mean that booba naturally means round in the secret language of the universe. It means that when humans are asked to attach sounds to things, the sounds are not blank. They matter. There's a thing in there that matters, and that's very cool. A better way to say it, and I appreciate the pushback, is a word is a human invention, and human inventions are made by bodies and brains working together with the systems that they have, including the sounds that they make and how that feels inside of the brain. The really interesting thing here is that the booba and kiki thing is real, and it goes beyond booba and kiki. Bubble and blob and balloon and bulb are all booba words for booba things.
And so it does just in isolation sound like something that an AI would say. You know, you're like writing with the AI, it says something, or Hank Green is writing with the AI, it says something. It's like, yeah, I'm not sure if it's true. And, you know, the AI kind of adjusts itself and it gives you an, I appreciate the pushback and then a whole other line of text. The explanation given by Hank Green is that this line actually was not in his script, that it was ad-libbed, and he was responding in that video to a guest he had been talking to. The Kavernacle disagrees with this. He says that Hank Green would have replied differently. He would have said it differently.
If you were referencing your guest who was in the video, because this is like a video he made afterwards, I believe. If you're referencing your guest, you wouldn't just throw in a really awkward phrasing of, "I appreciate the pushback." You would say, "And when my guest said this, I do appreciate that fact, but I think this, this, and this," right? That's how you would naturally say it.
And I think part of the problem is the Kavernacle simply doesn't understand the context. He thinks that this is a separate video. He thinks the video of Hank Green, where he's talking and says, "I appreciate the pushback," is just a solo video, when really it's something that has been put into a video, into the same video where he was talking to the guest, where you have that context. And so Hank Green admits to using some amount of AI in his research process. It's a little unclear what exactly that means, you know, if he's just like looking for essays. Hank Green does say he's been using it too much, and he does say that he feels that all of the words are his, but, you know, maybe it does feel a little too AI-ish because of influence. So it's a little hard to say what exactly happened here. Personally, I think, you know, that particular line was probably not AI generated. Maybe I just have an unhealthy parasocial relationship with Hank Green, but I'm willing to trust him that in general his scripts are not AI generated, and he just uses it for the research part. But, you know, maybe I'm wrong about this, but the part that annoys me is that the Kavernacle is making his assessment of the situation when he isn't even fully aware of the context. He didn't see the video, because if he saw the actual video, he would know that this portion was put into it later, was edited into the video, and it is not a standalone video, it is not a separate video, which changes how we interpret it. It changes what is reasonable, what the context is. And so when Hank says, "I appreciate the pushback," it's clear, because Hank is talking about how his opinion changed, that he appreciates the pushback that the guest gave him that changed his opinion, that changed his take on the issue. And I think this connects to kind of a broader problem. You know, I'm not a huge fan of AI. I think it's pretty bad. I think it's bad in terms of the information it gives. I think it's bad in terms of the style. That might be a bit more subjective. And really, you know, I think AI is kind of bad for a collective soul at this point. So how do we move forward now that we have this tool that can generate text automatically, and a lot of people simply think is a bad tool? This might be kind of a weird take from someone who is against AI, but I think we shouldn't worry about it at all. I think the stuff that AI produces is slop. And so what we should do is we should care about whether the content that is being produced is slop. If someone is publishing slop, we should care about that, whether it's AI generated or not. Now, because I am anti-AI, I think that all of the content generated with AI will prove to be slop, and so we will eliminate that, and we will eliminate a fair amount of non-AI generated slop as well. And so in the Kavernacle video, you know, he goes over a bunch of tweets where people are, replying to Hank Green talking about how they're disappointed, and we have this one person who's talking about how Hank Green has kind of poisoned his own well, how we must now second guess everything Hank Green says, how we can no longer trust him, and how we have to verify what he says. And honestly, I think that should be true with or without AI. We should not blindly put our faith into Hank Green. He's not a perfect person. He makes mistakes. Obviously, like on a political level, I do not agree with Hank on a lot of things. He's very much a liberal. So what we should do is we should look at the content of what he says, whether it's written in a good, decent style or not, whether it's spoken, articulated with a good style. Obviously, that's a little like subjective. But on a more objective level, we should just look at the facts. When people rely heavily on AI, when they plagiarize a lot, they don't tend to understand things. They don't tend to understand what they were talking about. They don't see contradictions in what they are saying. If you cite one source and another source and the both disagree with each other, you might not notice if you don't care, if you don't do your own research. And so I think we should treat Hank's video and all kind of informational videos that way. We should assume that they might have been AI generated, that they might be bad even if they weren't AI generated. We shouldn't just trust it because it was made by Hank Green or something like that. We should see if what they say matches the actual facts of what we know about the world. We should see if it contradicts itself in weird ways. We should see if it makes sense. We should see if it's just surface level knowledge. We should verify that. We should think about it. Is someone just giving us a surface level explanation of something, or are they actually giving a deep, thoughtful explanation that can really expand our knowledge beyond a simple introduction to a concept? And so with Hank Green, I have my disagreements. I'm sure he's made some factual errors at some point, and he might be using AI to an unhealthy level in his own research, as he says, to a negative extent. But I think what we should do is we shouldn't, burn him at the stake for using AI. We should look at his videos. Are his videos good? So if his videos are good, that means that clearly there's some part of Hank Green within them that overrides whatever part of AI might be in them that makes them good, that makes them accurate, that makes them consistent, that makes them thoughtful. And if they're bad, we should discard them. We should talk about that. Like Hank Green had a whole controversy with, like, I think it's Complexity, one of his channels, where they were talking about knitting, and he or his team made mistakes. And that was a good discussion to have, where they were talking about knitting, where they didn't treat it with the full respect that it deserved, where they got some things wrong. And if there are other Hank Green videos like that, we should be aware. We should hold them to the flame. We should test them. But I think this idea that we should judge the entirety of his corpus based off of a single sentence that he included, I appreciate the pushback, and that sounds a little robotic. To me, that seems a little silly. It does not seem like a productive way of going forward. And I think when we do analyze these videos, we should actually look at them within the context of the video itself. And I think it does him and ourselves a disservice where we look at a single clip and pretend like we understand and that we should share our opinion based off of that one single clip. So, trust no one and trust nothing. Good night, good day, and good potato.